In this video, I'd like to take a few minutes to walk through the Google Analytics interface so you can begin to get more comfortable navigating the various sections. We're logged into our account and I'm here on the Reporting tab. And you can tell because Reporting in the top menu is highlighted blue. At the top of every page in Google Analytics are navigation links. That way, no matter where you are, you have instant quick access to the four main sections of Analytics. And those sections are Home, Reporting, Customization, and Admin. The home screen is where we can see a list of all of our accounts and properties. We can also get a quick overview of how those accounts are doing. The Reporting section gives us access to all of our reports and dashboards. Customization, which we looked at for a few minutes in the last video, allows us to create and access custom reports. And Admin is where we can manage Google Analytics, change user permissions, and integration like AdWords, etc. We looked through this page before a bit too. In the top right corner of any page, you'll see Google Analytics is displaying the account information. To the right of that, by clicking on the gearbox, we can change settings, get help, and send Google feedback. We can also respond to notifications. Those appear by clicking on the bell icon. If there's a notification, the bell will display a red box with a number corresponding to the number of notifications you have waiting for you. In this case, we have 1. If we select from the drop-down next to the account name, we'll see all of the accounts associated with this login, as well as any associated views. And here we can select between the accounts and views if there are multiple ones to choose from. There's also a search bar, so if we have a bunch of accounts, we can quickly find the one that we're looking for. We can also add a Google account if we want to. Now let's look at navigating the Report menu. We looked at this a little bit earlier. It's located on the left-hand side of the screen. And if you remember, this is where we access all of our reports. If we select a category like Audience, it will open up and show us associated reports in the category. If we want to quickly find a specific report, we can do that by searching in the search box at the top. And by selecting in the search box, it will immediately show us recent reports that we've looked at. And it actually breaks the recent reports we've looked at into the category where we can find it, which is pretty handy. We can use Dashboard to see our most important reports at a glance. We can choose to create a new dashboard if we like, but here's an example dashboard view. This is a dashboard I created showing me graphs that I find useful. Next in the menu is Shortcuts. Using shortcuts provides quick access to our most commonly viewed reports right from the left menu. When we save a report as a shortcut, all the report configurations are stored as well. This can be filters, segments, dimensions, etc. Let me show you how to save a shortcut. So let's choose a report. We'll go back to the location report we looked at earlier. And from here, we can change the report if we want to, like add in another dimension. And once we're done, we choose the shortcut link above the report. And then we choose a name for the shortcut. We can just keep the auto name location for now. And then we click OK. Now, if you notice, the location report shortcut has been added under shortcuts in the left menu. Neat. Now, if we ever want to edit the report, just click on it from the Shortcuts menu, and then make any changes that we want to make, and then click Save from the menu bar to update the menu configuration and reserve it once again under Shortcuts. For instance, maybe I want to add in the secondary dimension Browser, and I can do that, and hit Save, and we're done. We can also choose to hide the menu panel by clicking on the arrow to the right of the search bar. That way, if you need more workspace to review your report, you can have it. Going back to the top of the screen, we know that we're in Reporting because, once again, Reporting is highlighted blue. And then below that in bold, Google tells us the name of the report that we're currently viewing. In this case, it's the Location Report, and specifically the Location Shortcut Report. We can confirm that by looking in the left menu under Shortcut, and we see Location is bold. Let's go back to the location report under Geo because remember this is a modified report. Now, below the location header at the top of the page, we have some controls we can look at. The controls modify the report. These control options are Customize, Email, Export, and if we click the Export dropdown, we can see the Download Export options. There's CSV, TSV, PDF, and others. We can also choose to add the report to our dashboard, and then the shortcut button to add it to our shortcut view and menu. Back in the top right corner, we have the option to change the date range. And if you click on it, you'll see there are a ton of options around dates, and we'll look at this in a few minutes. I also mentioned this before, but I want to remind you about the graduation cap just beneath the date range. By selecting it, it brings up the Analytics Education panel. And these are videos Google made to help walk you through different areas of analytics and are great if you want to look up some terminology or just learn more about how some of these reports work. Google does get into some detail if your curiosity takes you beyond the scope of this course. I recommend that you take a look through them. Once you're done, just hit the cap again and it'll close the education window. Then, just below the All Sessions section, we have the World Map overlay and Explorer. These are your report tabs. So Google is going to display your data in one or more tabs, typically. That way, you have the option to view all of your data in multiple ways, but all in the same place. Most reports have the Explorer tab, and normally the Explorer tab has two parts. It has a graph and then a table view of the data. Some reports show additional tabs, like this one has the Map Overlay tab, and you can navigate between the two views and choose the one that has the data that you're looking for, presented in the way that you'd like to see it. Below the Report tab are what's called metric group links. In this case, we have Summary, Site Usage, and E-commerce. It's also here at the top of the report header that we add in any additional segments. We're going to discuss segments in greater detail later in this course. But this has been a pretty good overview of how to navigate the interface. The more time you spend in it, just clicking around and experimenting, the more comfortable you'll feel. So I recommend logging into Google Analytics every day for a few weeks at least, because really the only way to stay comfortable is by repetition. You probably feel better about knowing where things are already. So let's keep building on that. But the next thing I want to discuss is date ranges. As we look at reports and interact with Google Analytics, we're going to definitely spend some time modifying date ranges. As I mentioned earlier, you change the date range by clicking in the box in the top right corner. Currently, I have October 27 through November 26 selected. When we select a date or date range, Google is going to adjust all the data for every report to show you what transpired in that date range. And also, once you select a range, it will stay that way regardless of what reports you're looking at. Every report in Google Analytics will have the option to change the date range in the top right corner. So just select the date range to open the range window. Let's look at navigating this a little bit. First, if you would like to select an entire month, just select the blue month link at the top of the calendar. See how the calendar adjusted? But also see how the dates adjusted in the date range boxes. Since I selected the month I'm currently in, I can't show the entire month because the last few days of November have just not occurred yet. But if we selected the October blue link, it would show the entire month of October. So then we hit apply, and it will apply the date range to all of our reports. We can confirm it by looking at the dates in the date range box. And the view in the graph has changed a little bit. If I hover over the far left point in the graph, we can see that it's November 1st. And then if we hover over the far right point on the graph, we can see it shows November 27th. Let's go back to the date range menu again. We can scroll left or right to see months in either direction. The blue area that is highlighted is, of course, the date range currently selected. Then, if we select into the starting date box, it will become highlighted. This means Google is allowing us to select a start date from the calendar. So I'll just select a date. And then Google automatically then highlights the end date box, which means we can now select the end of the range. And I'll do that now. Then if we hit apply, we'll see that the range in the date window now changes. And the data down below in the graph has changed again, along with data in every report to reflect the change. Okay, so there are other ways to interact with date ranges. Let's select back into the date range box to open up the window. Above the date range selector, there is a date range dropdown. The current selection is custom, but we have some other options. For instance, today, yesterday, last week, last month, etc. This way, if we want to quickly view last month's data, we can just select it from the dropdown and hit apply. And the data changes up again. Another thing we could do is just type in the date we want to use in the date range box. Just type in the beginning and end dates. And this would be faster if, say, the time period you're looking for is 6 months back or further back. Then you don't have to scroll the calendar. And Google will allow multiple forms of date entry. You can spell out the entire month if you like, or use the numerical 2-digit month, date, and year format. The other thing Google allows us to do is compare time periods. Say we want to compare month over month data. Well, what we can do is first select the month we want to compare, and then we choose the Compare To checkbox. Then the options we get are previous month, custom, or previous year. If we chose a week, those options would be previous week, custom, or previous year. So in this case, we can compare the month selected to the month before, the same month last year, or a custom month. If we leave previous month selected, Google will highlight the previous month on the calendar. Then when we choose Apply, the data graph now shows the two time periods on top of each other. And if we scroll down to the table, we can see that now the dimensions are split into two based on each time period. And if you notice, if we look at United States sessions between the 2 months, we can see that there was a 2.8% change between August and September. This is a really cool thing that Google does, showing us the comparison and percentage change. The same thing will happen if we scroll back up to the graph. If we hover over a particular day, Google will show us the change percentage here as well. So as you can see, it's pretty easy to navigate between different date ranges and compare them. That's a look at the analytics interface. And as I said, make sure you're spending time in here daily so you can become familiar with the different reports and features. In the next video, we're going to look at annotations and graphs.